Hi everyone, welcome back to Sympathy for the Sequel. I'm Alex West, and in this series, we look at major horror franchises and have a close examination of what is deemed to be the worst entry in said franchise, according to Rotten Tomatoes. And today, we are going to a franchise that is so obsessed with horror, that is so obsessed with film, that has a new entry coming out. It's Scream. It's Scream, okay? It's Scream. Scream 3 came out in the year 2000 and was met with some of the most divisive reviews of the franchise's career. And it comes in with a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hello, Sydney. Welcome to the final act.
Keith Phipps of the AV Club writes, "Virtually none of the craftsmanship of Craven's best is on display here, and what good ideas do turn up are largely recycled from previous efforts. This Scream has been widely marketed as the series' final installment. Better late than never."
From suspense master Wes Craven.
Nick Shager from Lessons of Darkness writes, "Merely adheres to the very convoluted whodunit formula that it outwardly addresses via a From the Grave video recording by Jamie Kennedy's genre know-it-all." Now, the original Scream film was essentially my gateway into horror, so we're all gonna have to take this episode with a pretty large pinch of salt. I have a hard time being objective about this franchise, and I'm not scared to admit it. So we are going to talk about Scream 3, which I agree is probably the murkiest in terms of plot, themes, all of that stuff that makes a film great, but I think it has actually a lot of redeeming qualities. But let's go back to where it all started. So after the massive success of Scream in 1996, it was followed hot on its heels by Scream 2 in 1997. Now, the Scream franchise came from Dimension Films, which was a subsidiary of Miramax, and a return of our old evil villains in a Scooby-Doo era kind of moment, the Weinsteins. You got it, they're back.
Well, if it isn't our old friend
Harvey Weinstein.
Yes, might have gotten away with it too. If it wasn't for these blasted
Sexual assaults.
well, in this case, it's police business.
And because of that, they wanted a new sequel quick. So they went back to the franchise creator Kevin Williamson and said, "Time for Scream 3, buddy. Let's go." But unfortunately for them, Kevin Williamson had already committed to a number of other projects, including the TV series Dawson's Creek, as well as his own directorial debut, Teaching Mrs. Tingle. The only thing Williamson could commit to was to write an outline. So he produced a 20 to 30 page outline that had to do with the main characters of the franchise returning to their hometown of Woodsboro and reckoning with a group of teens who seemed to be operating in a cult-like pact, and the murderers returning once again with a kind of mysterious Ghostface-esque figure at its helm. Now, this outline was handed over to Aaron Kruger to write the full screenplay. For this, he was taking the outline, working away on it, but while the film was in development, the Columbine shooting happened. Not only was this a massive tragedy on a scale that we hadn't really experienced before, but it got politicized really, really quickly. And the right wing of American politics, rather than call for gun control, decided to blame the media. That's when you had this moral panic of, oh no, the violence in films, TV, video games, music. That's when we start to see a lot of those advisory warnings on the content we were consuming at the time. So that meant that Scream 3, the Williamson version, got shelved. They decided they couldn't go ahead with a group of teens enacting a lot of really sadistic murders. So what Kruger did was he returned to the elements he thought was strongest about the franchise, namely the humor and the franchise's ability to comment on the horror genre as well as the film industry.
It was a simple game, Cotton. You should have told me where Sydney was. Now, you lose.
So the events of Scream 3 were moved from Woodsboro to Hollywood, utilizing the franchise within the franchise of Stab. Now with Stab 3 in production, Ghostface has returned and is brutally murdering multiple cast members in the order they die within Stab 3. So this reunites our holy trinity of Sidney, Gale, and Dewey, who are determined to get to the bottom of who is this Ghostface. Throughout all the murders, photos of Sidney's mom, Maureen Prescott, who was already murdered in the first film, begin appearing on the victims' bodies, leading our little trio of the best characters in the world to uncover Sidney's mom's dark past within Hollywood.
Sid, come here. Mother needs to talk to you. Everything you touch, Sid, dies.
So, as with a lot of horror franchise ladder sequels, there is a lot going on, and a lot of hopes were pinned on Scream 3 to not only replicate the success of the original two films, but to build on it, if not end the franchise on a really satisfying note. But there are a few things that kind of went awry as the film was getting into production beyond the Columbine shootings, completely altering the plans for the film. Franchise star Neve Campbell was only available to shoot for a few weeks, which really relegated the role of Sidney to almost a supporting character, even though she's still central to the plot. She kind of pops in and out of the film, but you really miss her. Sidney is a real grounding force within the franchise. She is the most normal of all the returning characters, and you really need her as an audience conduit. Tonally, this film feels really uneven. Finally, I think it's really important to remember what a huge cultural phenomenon the Scream franchise was. It came out of nowhere and really blew away the box office over 2 films, and this meant that a lot of people wanted to be in the new one. So you have stunt casting upon stunt casting upon stunt casting. Some of it works, some of it is Jay and Silent Bob cameos.
Oh shit, Salvo, it's that TV news shit, Connie fucking Chung!
So while if push comes to shove, I would generally agree that Scream 3 is the weakest of the franchise. It has so many great things about it. When the stunt casting works, it really works. And of course, I am talking about Parker Posey. Now, I think Gale Weathers is a great character, and I can only imagine Courtney Cox playing that character. I think it's the best she's ever been. She gives it each and every time she's playing this character, and she is a delight to watch in that role. Now, how do you offset Gale Weathers? Well, you put in another iterative version of Gale Weathers. So you have Parker Posey playing the actor who plays Gale Weathers in the Stab films. Hey! It's some of the strongest scenes in the entire film. They are having so much fun. It is so wild and big that you kind of can't help but love it.
My lawyer liked that.
Not as much as I did.
Another great thing about this film is its overall theme. The theme of it at its core is about the darkness of Hollywood and the darkness that can happen with privilege and power. And Hollywood loves to celebrate itself. It loves to make films about making films and explore the magic and the humor behind this kind of myth-making storytelling. And I think Scream 3 actually does the opposite. It explores the darkness of Hollywood and is really creepy and weird, and I think that is great, and I think it's especially subversive because this film was made right under the Weinstein's noses.
Hollywood is full of criminals whose careers are flourishing.
I'm not a criminal. I was questioned. Yeah, but that's all. I was questioned. That's it.
It's good for your mystique.
You think it'll help me get work?
The fact that this film got made under his nose and was commenting on very similar actions that he was doing in real life, I think kind of is brilliant and genius and really exciting to watch. And finally, I know that I can't believe I'm going to say this. This film is over 20 years old. And yeah, I know not everyone's seen it, and you might not have seen it in a long time, so I don't want to spoil the ending, but I think the ending is one of the strongest points of it. I think the way it wraps up narratively with the killer is fantastic. The person playing the killer is really strong in those scenes, and when they go head to head with Sidney Prescott and Neve Campbell, it's exciting. It's really vital and vicious, and I always really strongly respond to it. So I have a lot of love for this film, and hopefully you do too now.
Would you like to hold me one last time? What's the matter? What are you staring at? Don't you remember your mother?
So for me and my daughter, we just want to say thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment below what the next franchise we should do. And I've been Alex West, and until the next time the Weinsteins decide to fuck with another horror sequel, we'll see you in the sequel.
Lovely toenails.
Nibble that.
That's the blooper.
No, put the foot They're probably as filthy as they look. Yeah. Sorry.